My name is Naba Gurung, and I am the Development and Humanitarian Relief Coordinator at the Primates World Relief and Development Fund. We live in the world today that has enough food to feed everyone. Yet, millions of people continue to go to bed hungry every night. Canada is one of the countries that has ratified the Food Assistance Convention, which came to force in January 2013. The objectives of this convention are to save lives, reduce hunger, and stabilize food and nutrition status of those facing hunger and malnutrition worldwide. To meet these objectives, the Canadian government, through the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development, has been making financial resources available to the United Nations World Food Programme and the Canadian Food Grains Bank. As a member of the Food Grains Bank, the Primates Fund has been assessing these government resources and thus been contributing to the objectives of this Food Assistance Convention. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about three related but somewhat distinct concepts pertaining to the Primates Fund's response to global hunger. They are food aid, food security, and food sovereignty. Food aid is provided to people to meet their immediate food needs, especially in case of emergencies. It can be in kind, in the form of cash or cash vouchers. For example, we have provided food aid to Syrians who have been displaced inside Syria as well as outside of Syria. Recently, we have provided food aid to 17,000 internally displaced people in South Sudan. In Nepal, our partner Lutheran World Federation has been providing food aid to the earthquake-affected people. So let me take the Nepal example to elaborate this concept of food aid. So immediately after the earthquake, there was chaotic situation, markets were closed, so the partners there provided food aid in the form of ready-to-eat food, for example, beaten rice, biscuits, and noodles, to those who are living in tents, tarps, and in open spaces. And thereafter, food aid has been provided in the form of staple basic food basket comprising rice, lentil, cooking oil, and salt. So why is food aid necessary? It is necessary in the case of Nepal, for example, because the majority of those affected by the earthquake have also been farmers. And when their houses were collapsed, their food stock, seed stock, have been damaged. And some of their animals have been killed or injured, and even some of the standing crops have been damaged by the landslides. And markets have been disrupted because of landslide risk and damage of roads and trails. So why is food aid important in this case? Because when food aid is provided, people will have energy to get involved in rebuilding their lives, such as clearing the rubbles or collecting the materials for rebuilding their houses. Having access to food will mean they won't have to borrow or sell their assets to buy food. And it would also mean children won't have to go to school hungry. Now let's move on to food security. As I said earlier, there are situations where food aid is necessary and important. However, we have to be mindful that it shouldn't create dependency on the part of those receiving food aid. Therefore, whenever and wherever possible, our partners accompany the local communities so that they will find ways and means to feed themselves and their families without external support, so that they won't have to worry where their next meals would come from. Therefore, it takes a long-term approach. In the context of PWRDF, food security work happens in three situations. First is in post-disaster recovery and reconstruction. For example, in the case of Nepal, the food security work will begin most probably by providing quality vegetable and cereal seeds or tools, and maybe repairing the animal sheds or taking care of their animals that are injured by earthquake. The second is in post-conflict situations in which our partners work with refugee communities who are in the camps as well as outside of camps, and also returnees who have been resettled in their original villages or elsewhere. For example, in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, the refugee communities have set up cooperatives and are doing fish farming, poultry farming, and are also running a peanut butter processing center. The third situation is with the farmers who are subsistence farmers, especially smallholders, and who have limited access to markets, resources, and other services, who live in disaster-prone areas and are vulnerable to climate variabilities such as extreme heat, drought, and floods. So in all these situations, creating awareness in nutrition and to encourage balanced diet, especially for women and children, and promoting homestead food production, growing vegetables, fruits, birds, and small animals are encouraged and become integral part of food security work. Now let's move on to food sovereignty. It's about the rights of food producers to shape and craft the policies and processes around food and agriculture. It actually begins with a question: why is it that the food producers, especially the small-scale farmers, smallholder farmers, landless farmers, agricultural laborers, small-scale fisher folks, and pastoralists, continue to struggle to feed themselves and their families? In response, our partners believe that the long-term food security of these producers, as well as those of us who rely on them for our food, will be ensured if three key strategies are adopted and promoted in a holistic manner. These three strategies are: first, when the voices of these producers are heard and their rights are promoted or recognized. For example, in Philippines, our partner FARDC, Farmers Development Center, in Central Visayas, work with more than 200 farmers organizations who advocate for agrarian reform and lobby for their land rights. The second strategy is when the vast knowledge and wisdom of these small-scale producers, especially the women, around seeds, food preservation, landscape and ecosystem management are recognized and appreciated. Our partners believe that seeds should be in the hands of farmers. For example, Uvinig in Bangladesh works with farmers who have set up seed huts at the village level and community seed well centers at sub-district and district levels to facilitate conservation of seeds and exchange of seeds among farmers. And they are negotiating with the National Gene Bank so that the varieties of crops and plants available in the country would be available to farmers. The third situation is when the agrobiodiversity is promoted and adopted, which has been the key mechanism of farming system for these small-scale producers. For example, Movement for Land and Agriculture Reform, MONLAR in Sri Lanka, has been working with farmers who have been championing home gardening system, a nature-based farming system in Sri Lanka. So to sum up, these three concepts are not necessarily mutually exclusive, and they are rather complementary to each other. And for Primates Fund and its partners, what matters most is the dignity and justice of and for those who are facing hunger and malnutrition. Thank you.